UK. I want to talk about soft power areas. When you look at brand Modi, it's a global brand, and Britain must engage brand Modi. It's important to ask who voted Modi into power. That's the question. It's a groundswell. It's not some fringe group. It's not something that's going to go away. This is the new India voice that feels it has been suppressed for a few decades, and this voice has come back in a big way. So this is the voice that Britain needs to understand, and I will give a little bit about what that voice is about. Because, as I will explain, Britain has its alignments in the public square and in academics and so on, often with the very same intellectual people from India that have now been booted out. So it's very interesting that the Indian voters have removed a whole narrative and replaced it with a new narrative, but many of the people from the old narrative still enjoy prominence overseas. So a good thing for a joke in India, in Delhi, is that if you get booted out of India, you can always go to London and they'll still think highly of you because you can market yourself that way. So this disconnect is something important to fix, because the policies of India should direct itself to the people's voice in India and not the voices that have been discontinued and dismantled. So we need to understand what has been dismantled in India, and it has some parallels with Brexit. Because in both instances, what has been thrown out is a sort of ultra-liberal left voice. I'm not against liberalism. I think there are some amazing good things about it, but it was excessive. It was arrogant. It was hypocritical. In some cases, outright corrupt. So this narrative, which is sort of a global narrative, which is being dismantled not only in UK and India, but many other countries you can see around the world, Japan, Australia, etc. You have to understand what is this narrative and what are the other grand narratives of various peoples that want to come back. So like Brexit is a voice in Britain that wants to have its old grand narrative revived and heard, because the new narrative was not being fair to it, maybe too much oppression and too much dismantling of the pride of heritage. In the same way, that exact sort of thing is what brought Modi into power. Because after India's independence, what India got was political autonomy. What India is now getting in the last 15 years is financial and economic autonomy, but we still do not have a decolonization of the intellectual sphere. We still have books written in the past which are very denigrating to the culture and heritage and history of the Indian people, and this is an Indian problem. You cannot blame it on someone else. We've been free from colonialism for 70 years, and if we haven't done a darn thing, it's about time. So the people of India decided that they're disgusted with the state of affairs in terms of what's being taught in our schools in India, and the asymmetric imposition of secularism. Asymmetric. It might be a surprise to some people that Hindu temples in India are controlled and operated and administered by the government, though we are supposedly a secular country. And this administration of religious worship is not happening for any other religion but Hinduism. So that's not secularism. That's sort of like pandering to the minorities. Now, I believe that the minorities need help and the minorities need to be championed, and everybody's narrative is very good and we should respect it. But respecting one should not be at the cost of disrespecting the other. It should not be that we got to knock down the 80% minority in order to impress the vote bank of the 20%, the 80% majority in order to get the vote bank and the hearts of the 20% minority. And it's these games which are dishonest which led to the dismantling of